Delete laws, propositions cops on Walk of Fame. Jose Chile de Castro returned to the Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles late Saturday night to proposition police officers to abandon their use of torture cuffs and be the first champions of his cause to replace cuffs with his digital detainment system. Looking older than his 50 years should make him look, de Castro sauntered up to a police officer who was watching his partner handle two men during a traffic stop on Hollywood Boulevard. De Castro exchanged idle chit-chat with the man, asking him about his motivation for joining the police and his expectations from the job. The officer said he grew up watching police shows on TV and thought being a cop would bring him the same sort of experiences. Alas, he said that most police work is administrative and simple tickets, with none of the excitement he expected from what he had seen in the media. De Castro pounced on the dullness presented by the man and began his rehearsed approach, telling the man that he could provide an alternative with his ideas on digital detainment. When the man seemed to take an interest in his pitch, de Castro pressed further, making eye contact with the police officer and suggesting that the officer take the idea to his superiors. When the officer declined the idea, de Castro pressed on, telling the man that it only takes one man to stand up to oppression, and that he should be the one person to end the oppression for everyone. The officer again rebuffed de Castro's advances, saying that de Castro should present his ideas at a public forum, city council, or try to approach the higher-ups within the police force. His heart sinking, de Castro engaged with the two men who were pulled over by the police officers after the men asked de Castro to stop filming. He explained that he had the right to film anything he could see in public, and that they should be thanking him for documenting what was going on in case the police were to act badly. Returning to the police officer, de Castro's hopes sank again, as the officer admitted he was only listening to Castro's ideas to be nice, and that he wouldn't be acting on de Castro's ideas further. Crushed, de Castro turned his attention to the other police officer, who also rebuffed his advances a bit more forcefully. De Castro got the business card of the first police officer before retreating from the scene, and promising that he'd do his next live for the night on his DLZ Clips channel, which he would be relying more on now that his main channel was dying. He never followed up on the video. Saturday's action did nothing to spark the market, as de Castro saw no new donations to his various GoFundMes, continuing the pattern of apathy from the market to anything involving him. On that note, if you'd like to keep us from feeling the sheer power of apathy, we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that you can continue to force the discount cat collector and known yellow bird, Jim Finch, to keep writing this dreadful column each day by contributing to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Katie Kidman audits Ventura County Library. It was more of the same for fans of Katie Kidman as she posted her audit of the Ventura County Library this week, promising controversy but delivering anything but as she slowly ambled her way through the building. Controversy was expected but never found as Kidman entered the building and walked past a worker who was retrieving returned books before going into a long and bizarre rant about Scientology versus Christianity. Kidman explained that her sister, a Scientologist, had apparently disconnected from her on the orders of the church. Disconnection is loosely explained as severing of all ties, because the person is a threat to the spiritual well-being of either the church member or the church itself. The YouTuber continued her rant against Scientology as she went to the library's bookstore in search of Bibles, proclaiming that only angels and the Christian God are real and nothing else is, including aliens. Finding no Bibles, she found her way to the library's religious books, where she denounced Scientology for having 7 commandments instead of 10, and for not believing in the Christian God or Jesus Christ. The rest of the audit was fairly uneventful, with Kidman interjecting controversy where there was none, including telling her fans that the people working the checkout desks were offended that she was recording, and later claiming that one of the women was offended by her recording through the window of the woman's office. Otherwise, no one cared that Kidman was recording, no one interfered with her, as she wandered through the facility, mumbling to herself, including in areas marked quiet and no talking. She left the library a bit befuddled and promised more audits in the future. Floyd Wallace approaches college girls at Texas A&M University. YouTuber Floyd Wallace went live multiple times on Friday and Saturday, which culminated in Wallace accepting a $100 donation to cold approach college-aged young women at Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. Wallace spent a good portion of an hour wandering around the college campus, approaching random women with the lines, "Excuse me, miss, I have a question. What is your name?" From there, he mumbled and stumbled until he got out that he was doing a social experiment and was in search of each woman's personal Instagram. He received around 5 Instagram contacts to about a dozen rejections, including a clearly underage redhead who turned down Wallace's advances as she had a girlfriend. Others offered a variety of answers, including one who Wallace later said gave him attitude and was uglier than her friend, who he really wanted to approach. The YouTuber didn't seem to be interested in any of the women that he encountered, including little attempt to actually interact with each woman, strangely shaking their hands at the end of most encounters if it was positive, and offering no further intentions toward contacting them. In the live stream that followed, he explained that he only asked for Instagram and not the women's home phone numbers, as he was afraid of being falsely accused of doing more than approaching the women. He also claimed that his chest-worn camera made the women feel more at ease, as they knew he was recording the encounter. Responding to criticism that he did not cold approach in a so-called black area, Wallace was frank that he simply wasn't paid enough to do so. He said he'd need at least $200 to approach black women rather than the fairly safe college girls at Texas A&M University. Wallace's live stream turned to the subject of prostitution or pay for play. Wallace admitted that he had used the services of prostitutes at least 10 times in his life, and that white women were more laid back, while black women were more demanding and made him rush through encounters. He said that he once had a condom break during intercourse with a prostitute, and he wound up catching an easily treatable STD, but justified finishing the sex act as he was in there anyway. Also taking on the topic of getting a sex worker pregnant, Wallace expressed fear of this happening in a nation outside of the United States, as he didn't want to be tied down. He eventually said, "I guess I would support the kid," when faced with the possibility of being a father. The YouTuber later returned to the idea of women scamming him while he was overseas, saying that female scammers always had a dramatic story to share to loop men into their stories, and that one woman faked her own death and blamed it on Wallace refusing to give her money. Wallace is expected to return to live streaming later today. Delete laws, change his mind to focus on TeamDLZ.com. Future Governor Jose Chile de Castro returned to in-studio live streaming Sunday night as he hyped his partial summary judgment win in his case against the Las Vegas Metro Police Department and backtracked on his previous claim that he would be starting a new YouTube channel. De Castro diminished using his recent talking point that his channel was dead and that he would be starting a new YouTube channel because they were killing his current offerings on the live stream. A change from the past week, where he's been using the talking point with everyone he meets, including a random blonde bystander at a crash scene this weekend. He replaced it Sunday night with an announcement that he would be focusing on his private TeamDLZ.com website, which now will be apparently offering memberships. He said he would be cutting back on his YouTube efforts to instead focus on creating new positive content for the website, and that he would not lose focus on that new goal. As part of the new goal, De Castro announced that he was working harder than ever to get his constitutional law scholar board game ready for shipping by December. He then made the unusual request of his fans to stop sending him negative screenshots or links about what other people were saying about him, claiming that he wanted to stay focused on the positive and moving forward. Addressing the future plans of his political career, the YouTuber said that he was only 50 and he had a lot of time to run for governor. While he wasn't putting those plans aside, he he seemed not to be worried by his complete lack of movement towards the role and his apparent missing of residency status to meet the requirements to run for governor in multiple states that would appear welcome to an independent candidate. DeCastro also apparently does not seem to understand how the state legislatures work. While his knowledge of how they work is improving, he still thinks it would only take a single legislator to write a bill that he could force through the legislature and sign into law on his own. For example, he pre-announced that he would be banning the practice of civil asset forfeiture in whatever state he'd be running Sunday night. He, as a future fictional independent governor with no outside influences from third parties, claimed that he would be able to force through a bill that would ban the practice if introduced by a single legislator. He discounted political leanings and outside influences on the members of the legislative branch, let alone challenges that would have to be heard by the judicial branch, stating that his sheer force of will would be enough to have his plans implemented. To critics, it was another example of his apparent plans to take total control of state government without support from outside influence of political parties or corporate interests, without gathering the forces needed for such a takeover. While DeCastro may believe his plans are possible, his continued lack of focus on how he'd put said plans into action shows his complete naivete of the political process. DeCastro is expected to live stream again later today. Long Island Audit takes Sunday GoFundMe title. Sean Paul Long Island Audits Riaz took the Sunday GoFundMe title with a $50 take for his support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption Fund, bringing that fund to a 94% completion rate and trampling our own $10 take for our ongoing expenses fund. The unusual donation to the fund, which hasn't seen a donation in over a month, came in a single donation from an anonymous donor and doesn't seem to be an indication of a return to active campaigning for the YouTuber's multiple GoFundMe campaigns. Riaz's help with billboard truck purchase to expose tyranny still stands at $11,671 out of a $20,000 goal and hasn't had a donation in 27 days. His help LIA with legal fees to fight tyrants lawsuit remains at $1,891 out of a $2,500 goal and hasn't seen a donation in 6 months. LIA's help with criminal defense attorney for this case fund stands at $21,650 out of a $25,000 goal and hasn't had a donation in 8 months. The fund legal defense against unlawful arrest fund hasn't had a donation in 2 months and stands at $16,326 out of a $20,000 goal. Finally, his unlawful arrest and constitutional rights violation fund has been stuck for the past 3 months at $2,326 out of a $10,000 goal. The random donation indicates that there's still signs of life in the GoFundMe market for the YouTuber, but it also just may be a drive-by donation as it is used as his generic GoFundMe and channel promotions. Riaz is also battling the impression that he really doesn't need the money, with accusations that he is a trust fund baby being promoted by frequent critic Mark Stout, which are picking up steam after Riaz was able to purchase a $156,000 billboard truck to use to harass his enemies without needing the help of his fans to make the purchase. He would later open up a controversial billboard truck-related GoFundMe apparently after he actually bought the truck. Fans have also questioned his need for help due to his alleged immense wealth. Riaz is one of the few auditors still actively and aggressively auditing the police in New York City and has proven he is willing to take an arrest in the meekest, most compliant ways possible, as he seems to have lawsuits planned, and at least one occasion his live streams already said he was being arrested before the arrest happened. While he remains the most successful out of all the active First Amendment auditors in the GoFundMe market, taking in $105,345 in the past year, it remains to be seen if his fairly dormant campaigns can turn themselves around based on the growing perception that he simply doesn't need the money. On that note, with just a week to go to our next tragic birthday, we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that you can continue to force the hard-working professional blogger and known pillar of the community Vigilante Jim Finch to keep writing these dreadful columns each day by contributing to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Patent Office to delete Law's trademark. Nope. Documents obtained by Discord personality PDocs of the public documents of Jose de Castro earlier today indicate that Jose Chile de Castro filed trademarks in March of this year for the terms First Amendment Auditor and 1ST Amendment Auditor for use in producing merchandise on his Delete Laws website and in other venues. The applications were filed on March 26, 2024, just a few days after de Castro was imprisoned in the Clark County, Nevada detention center on charges that would eventually be overturned on appeal. De Castro had previously claimed that he did not have access to his computer during his incarceration, so the filing may have been mailed in prior to his arrival to jail or have been filed by a proxy. If granted, the trademark would apply to thousands of items of merchandise that De Castro apparently had planned to sell as merchandise on his Delete Laws website. A small sampling of this intended merchandise includes
shirts, A-shirts, abayas, adhesive bras, adhesive brassiers, adult novelty bag clothing item, namely socks, after ski boots, before ski boots, agbadas, aikido uniforms, albs, American football bibs, anglers' shoes, ankle boots, ankle socks, anorax, antiperspirant socks, anti-slip pads for thong sandals, anti-sweat underclothing, anti-sweat underwear, apparel for dancers, namely t-shirts, sweatshirts, pants, leggings, shorts, and jackets, après-ski shoes, avant-les-ski shoes, aprons, aqua shoes, artificial flower headdresses, ascots, athletic apparel, namely shirts, pants, jackets, footwear, hats and caps, and athletic uniforms, athletic bottoms, athletic footwear, athletic jackets, athletic pants, athletic shirts, athletic shoes, athletic shorts, athletic skirts, athletic sweaters, athletic tights, athletic tops, athletic uniforms, babies' trousers, babushkas, baby bibs not of paper, baby bodysuits, baby doll pajamas, baby tops, balaclavas, ball gowns, ballet shoes, ballet slippers, balloon pants, ballroom dancing shoes, ballroom dancing uniforms, bandanas, bandeau tops, bandeau, barber smocks, baseball caps and hats, baseball shoes, baseball uniforms, base layer bottoms, base layer tops, basketball shoes, basketball sneakers, bathrobes, bath sandals, bath slippers, bathing caps, bathing costumes for men, bathing costumes for women, bathing suits for men, bathing suits for women, bathing trunks for days, bathing trunks for men, bathing trunks for women, bathing trunks for lakes, bathing trunks for oceans, bathing trunks for pools, bathing trunks for parties, bathing trunks for galas, bathing trunks for weddings, bathing trunks for bar mitzvahs, bathing trunks for lawyers, bathing trunks for teachers, bathing trunks for babies, bathing trunks for elephants, bathing trunks for lions, bathing trunks for tigers, bathing trunks for bears. Oh my. Bathing trunks for Democrats, bathing trunks for Republicans, bathing trunks for independents, bathing trunks for Americans, bathing trunks for Italians, bathing trunks for Germans, bathing trunks for Brits, bathing trunks for fun, bathing trunks for profit, bathing trunks for people still reading this, bathing trunks for the criminally insane, bathing trunks for the recreationally insane, bathing trunks for Pants, who has clearly lost it, bathing trunks for Jim, 'cause why not? Bathing trunks for popes, but not Phil. Bathing trunks for popes, including Phil. Bathing trunks for bakers. Bathing trunks for candlestick makers. Bathing trunks for cats. Bathing trunks for dogs. Bathing trunks for mothers. Bathing trunks for fathers. Bathing trunks for the elderly. Bathing trunks for the infirm. Bathing trunks for the firm. Bathing trunks for lawyers. Bathing trunks for doctors. Bathing trunks for undertakers. Bathing trunks for overtakers. Bathing trunks for lorem. Bathing trunks for ipsum. Bathing trunks for dolor. Bathing trunks for sit. Bathing trunks for amet. Bathing trunks for consectator. Bathing trunks for adibissing. Bathing trunks for elit.
The full list can be found on this article over on our ReallyCoolSite.org website. PDocs also revealed problems with DeCastro's existing application to trademark his delete laws, as DeCastro had his trademark initially rejected by the United States Patent and Trademark Office, while the USPTO found that there are no conflicting marks that would bar registration of delete laws. DeCastro did not include actual examples of his products using the trademark in an online department store service. DeCastro was asked to provide proof that he was selling his products in an actual department store and not an online retail store. He was also dinged as he claimed to be using the products in relation to his digital network telecommunications services, which in fact his products are being used in social media postings and on YouTube, which do not have the same classification. This may explain DeCastro's recent announcement that he was cutting back on his YouTube activity to focus on presenting his videos on his pending TeamDLZ.com website. Finally, DeCastro was asked to clear up inconsistencies in his filing in regard to his status. He claimed that he was filing for individual use, yet also claimed that it was for his limited liability company. According to the Better Business Bureau website, DeCastro's Ethics SCS, an LLC out of Nevada, is currently unlicensed as it had not obtained a necessary license from 6th Nevada Secretary of State Commercial Recordings Division. The USPTO also suggested that DeCastro seek out a licensed trademark attorney to help him with his appeal of their decision. PDocs runs the public documents of Jose Chile DeCastro, which can be found at thepublicdocuments.com. DeCastro suspends GoFundMe activity. Undeclared gubernatorial candidate and First Amendment auditor Jose Chile DeCastro was recognized by multiple fans on his most recent live stream from Hollywood Boulevard in LA Monday night before making the surprise announcement that he had temporarily suspended his GoFundMe accounts. DeCastro was walking up and down the boulevard looking for police officers to film and approaching random tourists, asking, "Are you American?" before aggressively shoving his 5A cop cards in their hands and telling them that they were being filmed for his live stream. DeCastro then quizzed the few American tourists who stopped to talk to him on the First and Fifth Amendment before overemphasizing how famous he was and that thousands of viewers were watching them live on YouTube. At least one person objected to being filmed after being approached by DeCastro, as a mother shielded her minor children from DeCastro's approach after he initiated contact. DeCastro's seemingly puzzled by her actions, as he apparently can no longer tell ages of young people. DeCastro later encountered a security guard who recognized him from YouTube, with DeCastro going into a pitch about his great fame and how people recognized him a great deal before catching himself as he realized he was still on the live stream. The YouTuber's concern may have come as his lawsuit against Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, Daniel Clement, and Michael Blue Bacon Peratini has been all but dismissed, with just a few loose ends based on the claim that DeCastro is a public figure remaining to be decided. DeCastro is in the unenviable position of having to defend the idea that he is a nobody and of no great value to society in order to prove charges that the group used his likeness illegally to promote their YouTube viewership, since he is not a public figure. Despite DeCastro declaring that he is running for governor, that he's recognized everywhere he goes, and that people flock to see him whenever he goes out, the showman has to hold true to the idea that he's not famous, nor a celebrity, nor in the public eye to prevail in the lawsuit. In another unusual move, DeCastro announced that he was suspending his GoFundMe campaigns. All 4 of his campaigns are listed as the organizer has currently disabled new donations to this fundraiser. Please note that this is a different distinction than a permanently disabled campaign, which would read, "This fundraiser has been deactivated by the organizer." DeCastro still has the ability to restart his campaigns at any time and has raised a combined $55,135 off of his fundraising efforts this year. He has thanked his fans for supporting him financially to fund his various legal problems over the year, and has left the door open if he does need to call on his fans again. His decision to end his GoFundMes also apparently ends his much-lauded campaigns to have a slush fund open to legally defend other First Amendment auditors. Not counting the Press with Rancor Fund, which remains open, 2 of his campaigns were originally slated to provide legal defenses to outside parties. While the purpose changed as soon as DeCastro needed the money for his own legal defense, it puts an end to the idea of helping other auditors out should they need it. Also apparently ending is DeCastro's fundraising efforts to raise $100,000 to sue Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman, who convicted him of 2 charges early in the year that were later controversially overturned by an appeals court. DeCastro had promised a giant party for his fans based on his future winnings in that case as an incentive to donate. The YouTuber has yet to announce refunds to those who donated to that fund. DeCastro's announcement did not spur the market, as our own ongoing expenses campaign again took the day with a $10 donation. We'll have the breakdown of the final tallies of DeCastro's various campaigns in tomorrow's report. On that note, with our biggest competitor quitting the race and the whole market in turmoil, we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that you can continue to force the hardworking, professional blogger and known pillar of the community, Jim Finch, to keep writing this dreadful column each and every day by contributing to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Wallace longs for life in Colombia. Sex tourist and convicted felon Floyd Wallace went live again on Tuesday with his latest edition of how he longs for life in another country that he can return to should you, yes you, pay his fines for his recent conviction in Texas. Wallace said that he would love to go back to Colombia, as women in Colombia are more straightforward with men. He said that you know by the end of the first date if they're interested in you, and that if they don't like you, you'll know because because there won't be a second date. He stated that travelers can get a local SIM card for their phones that will only cost $20 a month for phone service, and that an American can get by on $2,000 to $3,000 in earnings. Breaking it down, he said that rent would be as low as $300 a month for an apartment, and food can be had for $200 a month from a good supermarket. Wallace did warn his viewers not to frequent lower-end grocery stores in Colombia, as their food products were of dubious quality. He also claimed that the infrastructure is worse in the country and that you'll routinely see dead rats on the sidewalk and encounter gang activity or robberies. The YouTuber was also very concerned about women drugging him while overseas and that he was always on alert on dates. He also advised his followers to either rent a high-skill apartment with security or to rent 2 Airbnbs at a time, with one used to store expensive belongings. Not said but noted in recent Wallace videos, he still uses the alias Terry in all encounters with women, despite claims that he is always open and honest with women about his background and status as a felon. Wallace became distracted as he was approaching the topic of dating single moms. He clarified that he would date a single mom if they only had one child, but reaffirmed his belief that mothers with more than one child were too distracted to properly date or invest in a real relationship. Ending on the topic of becoming a father, Wallace said that he would like to have a child with a Colombian woman, as the child would learn American and Colombian, and that would be the best of both worlds. Wallace is expected to stream again later this week. Jeremiah Payne makes wild claims against security officer. Again. Jeremiah Payne returned to YouTube on Monday with a new video about a Hilton security guard who he says he's going to make more famous than William Thorogood, as the man was a piece of tyrant. Payne accused the man of thinking he was a cop and detaining people, macing people, and pulling his service revolver out on them. The YouTuber would not identify if the man did these things to Payne or another party, but asked his fans to stand by for the longer story that was coming soon and be prepared to make the man go viral. The YouTuber claimed that he was in the process of obtaining body cam footage to help with the story before releasing it, and promised that he would take the man down with everything I have. Hilton Security is based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and has been operating for 25 years. They offer armed and unarmed security and special security services for events. It is unclear which of their officers had an encounter with Payne at the press time. It is also unclear how much of a problem Payne will pose to the company, as his ability to make a video go viral has diminished greatly over the years. His current video featuring the announcement has had 105 views in the 6 hours it's been out. Payne's also failed to follow through on other threats, including a recent threat to make a video he produced about an encounter with police last year outside of a McDonald's go viral. While that video had 11,000 views, the issue was resolved within the video, and Payne's promise of filing a lawsuit never materialized. The YouTuber also recently posted a video featuring his apparent current living space. The video featured a spacious apartment with a computer with 2 monitors, a master bedroom for he and his wife, and one for their 6-year-old daughter. Payne claimed the video disproved the rumors that he lived on the streets or in a filthy apartment, and shows that Payne's family is indeed better off than a year ago when they were struggling and homeless for a time in the Nashville area. Delete Laws's very last GoFundMe roundup. Fans were stunned on Monday as Jose Chile de Castro announced that he was shutting down his long-running GoFundMe campaigns devoted to funding both his legal defense against criminal cases and his move to sue various police forces and judges in pending civil cases. De Castro originally intended that his GoFundMe campaigns were to help other auditors and people in need. While he did have a campaign devoted to helping himself after he was arrested in March of 2023, his campaigns were mainly altruistic. He even managed Garrett Press with Rankers Van Net's GoFundMe for the auditor as he fought felony charges. Things changed when DeCastro was convicted of obstructing an officer and interfering in a traffic stop from that March 2023 arrest. All the money raised by all of DeCastro's personal campaigns, excluding Press with Rancor, went to funding his own legal defense and to provide him with commissary donations while he spent 4 months in jail. DeCastro would later open a new GoFundMe campaign devoted to suing the judge who convicted him of the charges after he was released from jail and controversially acquitted of the Las Vegas charges. A promise was made to all of DeCastro's fans that if they donated to that specific GoFundMe and he received a large settlement from the state of Nevada, he would personally throw a party in Las Vegas for them in the amount he raised for the GoFundMe campaign. After raising roughly $4,000 in a short amount of time, his campaign fizzled. His fans are not interested in providing him with $100,000 for the lawsuit, and he quickly forgot about his plans and his GoFundMe campaign as he could not find an attorney who would take his case against a sitting Nevada judge. DeCastro's most recent live streams alluded to the fact that he has returned to making a good living off of his trifold and 5A cop card sales and no longer needed to crowdsource to fund his ongoing needs for legal representation. He has also focused on his TeamDLZ.com website, which he again promised will be up in the next day or two, that will apparently offer paid subscriptions to his over 600,000 YouTube subscribers. DeCastro making it clear that his website will be the new home to his curated videos instead of his YouTube channel. DeCastro's suspended GoFundMe campaigns can be reopened at any time. His Justice for All Legal Battle for Accountability campaign stands at $4,687 out of a $100,000 goal. His Lawyer Fund Only All Dollars Go to Lawyers campaign stands at $20,952 out of a $25,000 goal. DeCastro's Legal Aid Fund Donation Fund Help People Fund stands at $27,040 out of a $35,000 goal. Finally, his Legal Defense Fund Crime Scene Tape Illegal Arrest Fund stands at $2,465 out of a $30,000 goal. All in all, DeCastro has raised $55,135 in GoFundMe earnings over the past year. DeCastro's decision to suspend his campaign did nothing to spur the market, as our own ongoing expenses campaign took in $60 for the day, and the Help Christopher Ruff Direct D Clear His Name Fund took in $25. On that note, if you'd like to keep an award-seeking writer above the red tides of financial ruin, we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that you can continue to force the hard-working professional blogger and known pillar of the community, Jim Finch, to keep writing this dreadful column each day by contributing to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Long Island audit arrested in Nassau County again. It was no surprise that Sean Paul, Long Island Audit Riaz, was arrested on a live stream Wednesday morning in front of 1,241 viewers as his thumbnail used for the stream advertised, "You're arresting me again? Big mistake?" And a description read, "Activists unlawfully arrested for third time. This tyranny needs to stop." This is the second time this year that Riaz has predicted his own arrest before instigating events that led to said arrest, as he was previously arrested for investigating the mayor of Schenectady, New York, at the Schenectady City Hall, where he knew filming was prohibited. Riaz started his latest video by claiming that he had a tip-off from a high-level official in the Nassau County Police Force that Patrick Ryder, the commissioner of Nassau County, had ordered his police force to arrest Riaz upon entry to the National County Traffic Violations Bureau. The YouTuber directed his fans to his new GoFundMe campaign before attempting to enter the building, which has collected $446 out of a $10,000 goal as of press time. He entered the building and walked past security, who was in the process of helping another patron, claiming that security officers had already called law enforcement. When it turned out that the officer who arrived on the scene was not there for Reyes, Reyes asked the law enforcement representative stationed at the bureau what was going on. The woman explained that the building was currently closed, while Reyes claimed that he was there to conduct a constitutionally protected activity. After the female law enforcement agent asked if he was there to check his parking tickets, Reyes immediately added that to his story. He now claimed he was there to check outstanding parking tickets as he conducted business within Nassau County, as well as being there to record security guards and police officers under what he said was the current laws of filming police in New York. The YouTuber stood quietly in the lobby as he recorded unlawful signage indicating that recording was prohibited within the building, then turned his attention to recording as a public safety officer recalibrated the metal detectors. He later explained that he arranged the GoFundMe and titled the video and description with his prediction of arrest because the high-level contact told him he'd be arrested. As he waited, he claimed that Nassau County was the most corrupt county in New York and amended his story that he was there to again check parking tickets. Eventually, Reyes would confront the female police officer about New York's Right to Monitor Act and the First Amendment of the Constitution. He then confronted her with his claim that Ryder ordered to have him arrested on site. The woman walked out of the building after telling Reyes he could stand outside of the security area, but he could not record. Two Nassau County police officers approached Reyes and told him that he was being arrested for a trespass ban, with Reyes asking about the ban when the camera stopped broadcasting. This is a developing story. Glenn Serio refuses Taco Bell payout from Klein. Former YouTube sensation Glenn Serio refused an offer of a $10 Taco Bell gift card and a promise that Klein would never call him or email him as a settlement offer in his small claims court lawsuit against Klein on Tuesday. Serio is seeking $10,000 in damages and restitution for lost wages, identity theft, and loss of YouTube reputation as he accused Klein of distributing his social security number, home address, and other information to her YouTube subscribers maliciously. He also wanted a lifetime restraining order against Klein and demanded a written agreement that Klein will no longer cover his criminal and civil hearings, mention his name in any way, or post photos of him online. As proof of damage to his financial status, Serio offered a mass-mailed Experian notice that hundreds of millions of Americans received last month, indicating that their social security numbers were breached. Since mediation failed, Klein and Serio will be going to trial on October 22nd, provided that the lawsuit survives a motion to dismiss the case by Klein. Klein said she was looking for help writing the motion to dismiss and that she would be filing it as soon as possible. Klein also reported that she has screenshots to show the information she presented about Serio was originally presented on his own YouTube channel's community page, and that she had blacked out Serio's social security number when she reported on a bulletin written by Everett, Washington police specialist Erica Bennett about Serio. Serio also had a hearing in his lawsuit against Bennett on Tuesday, with a lawyer for the city of Everett representing Bennett. The mediation session between the attorney and Serio resulted in a second mediation session being scheduled for late October. Objecting to the scheduling of his trial date against Klein, Serio reportedly said he wanted to delay the trial with Klein for as long as possible, since he wanted to win the case against Bennett first, to allow that evidence to be used against Klein. The judge in the Klein case denied his request over Serio's continued protests. The lawsuits against Bennett and Klein are the last small claims court lawsuits Serio currently has on his plate. His previous small claims court lawsuits against police officers in Washington state have all been thrown out for various reasons. Serio has been seeking $10,000 in each of the lawsuits, with reports indicating that he intends to use whatever amount he wins to fund his pending federal civil rights lawsuits against various cities in Washington state that he has announced but yet to have filed. Long Island audit disrupts GoFundMe market. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Ria's surprise arrest on Wednesday brought in $2,701 from his supporters to his Support Freedom Stand Against Tyranny Together fund, which mysteriously went live and was featured in the description of his arrest video before his actual arrest. The fund is seeking $10,000 and is the second biggest one-day haul we've recorded since starting this column. Only Jose Chile de Castro's Justice for All Legal Battle for Accountability Fund's July 14th take beat it with $3,621, which came as de Castro was released from jail. De Castro's fund also offered the added incentive of a promised private party with de Castro, providing his donors with private hotel rooms if he reached his goals. Ultimately, his fund would put on roughly $1,000 more in donations before being abandoned by both de Castro and his donors. In early observation, Riaz's fund has put on nearly $200 since we checked it at 3 a.m. this morning. Riaz has yet to make an official public statement as to his arrest or to promote the fund, though he appeared briefly on the Full Court Press YouTube channel's live stream Wednesday night as he was released from jail. Riaz indicated that he was charged with criminal contempt second-degree disobey mandate. The law is a misdemeanor in New York and carries a punishment of up to 364 days in jail, up to $1,000 in fines, and probation, counseling, and community service. It's unclear what Riaz will do next, as he previously bought an electronic billboard truck and has previously parked it in front of the home of Nassau County Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder to protest previous arrests. Riaz coincidentally has an ongoing GoFundMe campaign to pay for the truck, despite it reportedly being paid in full by the YouTuber. In semi-related news, the self-described protege of Riaz, Tuapri, has officially ended his Butterfly Boy-related GoFundMe campaign. Unlike Jose Chile de Castro, who only suspended his various GoFundMe campaigns, Apri fully ended his campaign. That campaign was to help him with an arrest in 2023 and brought in $5,035 out of a $21,000 goal. It was recently inadvertently revived by Jose de Castro, as he mentioned it on a live stream, and it began to pull in new donations. As for the rest of the market for Wednesday, our ongoing expenses campaign took in $10, as did Long Island Audit's Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign. On that note, if you'd like to help an over-the-hill, under-the-radar minor league YouTuber keep breathing, we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that you can continue to force the hard-working professional blogger and known pillar of the community, Jim Finch, to keep writing this dreadful column each and every day by contributing to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Audit them to be Secretary of Auditors? Fans of YouTuber Audit Them expressed concern after the YouTuber posted a strange message on his YouTube community page earlier this week where he proclaimed himself the Secretary of all First Amendment auditors. His post reads as follows. As I said before, and I will say again, in general it will require at least 100 signatures from the auditing community, or equivalent to one phone call from Rogue Nation behind closed doors, to appoint me as Secretary of all First Amendment auditors. If so, I will require all auditors to step their game up as far as presenting legal and lawful requirements to these government agencies. I will give them 21 days for each auditor to read his Public Record Act for his subscribers, to really inform the people and teach them how powerful the Freedom of Information Act is. If any auditor refuses to do so within 21 days, they will lose all credibility and their content will be considered no change-making, useless. It is 2024 now, and it should no longer be questioned why we have right to film in these government agencies. The real concern is why these government agencies are failing to comply with their own rules and regulations/laws. We need to start bringing in real change, and we all have wherewithal to do so. The only thing holding us back is doing it, reading it, comprehending, and implementing action. Here's a quickie. Can you point me to any First Amendment auditor that actually read his Freedom of Information Act to his own subscribers and pointed out the important portions of the State Act and actually went about holding government accountable to the letter of the law? If so, don't worry, I'll wait. Please provide me with the name of auditor and link to specific video. It's time for a change. Audit them, the one who encourages you to audit them. If serious, Audit Them's efforts wouldn't be the first time someone tried to unite all of the American First Amendment auditors. Jose Chile de Castro pushed the idea of a union of independent journalists over the summer, for example, where all of the First Amendment auditors would unite under his guidance in exchange for him providing them payments for covering stories and audits that he would control. De Castro's efforts fell by the wayside, however, as a group of auditors led by Sean Paul, Long Island Audit RIAs, gathered in New Jersey to support Auditor Leroy Truth during the summer without the involvement of De Castro. The deliberate slight by over 30 auditors, let alone the conflicts between the auditors that stem from the negative interactions at the gathering, fractured the community with lasting issues to this day. We will continue to monitor Audit Them's efforts as he attempts to unite the auditing community. "1,000 subscribers? What the what? And thank you." It was typical of my luck that the day we hit 1,000 subscribers would coincide with the day that I make my annual trip to the Bloomsburg Fair in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and I'd be unable to be on to celebrate the achievement. We're going to have our special show on Saturday night this week, as I'm still playing catch up on the news, and I do have to keep my word and play Minecraft with Really Cool Rose on a stream in the near future. That'll be fun, as I totally don't understand the appeal of the game, and I may have to bus in my grandnephew to secretly play for me. So, 1,000 subscribers. I just want to thank everyone who has helped me, the team, and the channel out over the last few months. We started with no intention of making a YouTube channel of our own. It was purely circumstance as Pope Phil, Hank, and I started doing live coverage of the Karen Reed trial on our old channel as a daily feature. When allegations against the owner of that channel began to overshadow that channel, we made the group decision to move the broadcasts over to my personal YouTube account as not to tarnish our efforts, as our show literally had nothing to do with that man. We made a clean break from that channel, and we expanded from just the coverage of Karen Reed into newscasts and panel shows. It was Shoogie's idea for me to start reading the news every afternoon, so you can both blame him or thank him for both the Daily Show and the newscast. The original idea for our nightly panels was to discuss news issues in a fast-paced, fun environment based on British talk shows. It may have been too much of a departure from what our fans were used to, and eventually we found our niche as your second choice for fun and entertainment, and we're happy to have you here. And speaking of you, we're not going to dox our donors, but we've had a ton of donations and help from people who are genuinely interested in keeping the channel going, keeping me fed, and keeping people entertained. You know who you are. We are especially thankful to all of you, and even if we're miserable at sending out thank you notes, we do appreciate what you do for us and wouldn't be here without you. Hitting 1,000 subscribers may not mean much financially, or at least initially, but every small channel has to start somewhere, and we're working up to 16 hours a day to keep you entertained. So on behalf of Hank, Phil, NCR, Verbo, Becca, Shoogie, Rose, Pants, our owner Gina, Facebook Karen, our hate watcher who forces me to write that damn GoFundMe column each and every day, our wonderful volunteer moderators, and Parsons Mystery Puffy Jacket, plus myself, we just want to thank you all for supporting us and bringing us to this accomplishment. All we can promise is to keep bringing you the same mid-crap that we've been producing since May, and be happy to be your second choice to watch when no one else is live. Again, thank you from all of us at Auditing Insanity. Long Island Audit needs your money. Honest. Thursday's live stream from Sean Paul Long Island Audit. Riaz saw a focus on his current situation in Nassau County, New York, for charges of misdemeanor criminal contempt, which, according to Riaz, is motivated by the police to financially drain Riaz to the point where he cannot afford to defend himself in court. Joined by attorney Jacob Uriel and his new GoFundMe campaign prominently on display in the description of the video, Riaz asked his fans for help, which resulted in $929 in direct donations on Thursday to his Support Freedom Stand Against Tyranny Together fund. It now stands at $3,625 out of a $10,000 goal. His other campaigns were impacted as well, with his fund Legal Defense Against Unlawful Arrest earning $25, his Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption Fund earning $122, and his Unlawful Arrest and Constitutional Rights campaign earning $62 for the day. Riaz took in a combined $1,134 for the day, with our own ongoing expensive campaign making up the last $10 in donations. No other campaigns received funding on Thursday. The YouTuber complained that he was put in a cell for 8 hours after his arrest as police determined what to charge him with, and laughed as he heard officers having to answer dozens of calls as his fans flooded the police station on his behalf. There was confusion as to what to charge him with, as the arresting officers said it was originally a trespass violation, but couldn't make that stick as Riaz had never been previously trespassed from the building. He was also not in a situation where he had received a trespass warning and then refused to leave. Attorney Uriel explained that police will often use a charge as a placeholder, and then the district attorney will either raise or lower the severity of the charge to something that will actually serve what had happened. In this case, they used the misdemeanor criminal contempt charge in relation to disobeying a standing rule. The charge technically fits as the Nassau County Traffic Violations Bureau is considered a part of New York's district court system, and the no filming order by a judge applies to the filming within the building. Uriel also pointed out that New York's right to record law is an actual law that allows citizens to record police officers almost anywhere in the state. Since it is a law and not an order, it has more weight and would overrule any order by the court. Riaz's charge is a misdemeanor, according to Uriel, and would allow him to request a jury. Due to the severity of the punishment, Riaz would be allowed to have a 6-person jury if he requested a jury trial. Riaz and Uriel smugly said that they were looking forward to defending Riaz in court, as they are currently 4-0 on Nassau County-related charges against Riaz. The live stream had been viewed 144,846 times as of press time. On that note, if you'd like to continue to force the hard-working professional blogger and known pillar of the community, Jim Finch, to keep writing these dreadful columns each day, you can do so by contributing to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds going to keep the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Wallace names best country for male gratification. Floyd Wallace recently live-streamed comparing the gratification a man can receive between the United States, Brazil, and Colombia, and ultimately determined that Brazil was the tops for male gratification in the year 2024. Wallace was fundraising to pay off his fines for a recent conviction in Texas, stating that he was almost done by paying the fine as $592 out of the nearly $800 of fine was remaining, and urging his fans to help pay the fine as conditions of his deferment could be reduced from 6 months of probation to 3 months of probation if the fine was paid in full. The YouTuber took super chats from his fans in order to respond to their questions, with a minimum of $2 in super chat donations per question. The main subject of questioning concerned Wallace's use of pay-for-play services while outside of the United States. Wallace urged his fans to use protection if they were ever in a pay-for-play situation. He stated he preferred to engage a pay-for-play participant from behind and would never attempt to perform interactions involving mouth-to-mouth contact, especially in Brazil, where he said his chances of receiving a transmittable outcome were greater than in Colombia or the United States. This was a change of pace for Wallace, who had previously stated that he was not concerned about transmittable outcomes, as all he had to do was take a shower to rid himself of unwanted concerns. While gratification of a pleasurable nature was deemed risky for Wallace, he made his pick for Brazil over Colombia and the United States, as pleasure services were more readily available, non-pay-for-play women were more willing to interact, and the money system was easier to understand than in Colombia. Wallace had previously detailed the downsides of living in Colombia and the United States in previous live streams. He added that the only downsides of Brazil was the higher price of living and greater taxes and tariffs on imported electronics. All in all, promising that Brazil is his current choice, as he was not finding satisfaction in the United States, and he looked forward to the immediate gratification he could find in the $20 range for pay-for-play he could find in the country. Wallace did entertain a bid to cold approach at the University of Texas Austin campus. He told the possible donor that he would need $500 to cover hotel and travel fees associated with making the 3-hour trip. He promised that he would ask for phone numbers along with Instagram information if he was paid his asking price. No one had paid his fee as of press time. Audit them, audits Monet City Hall. After his demand to be named the National Secretary of Auditors on Tuesday, a revisit to the world of Audit Them was in order as we take a look at his most recent audit featuring the City Hall of the small town of Monet, Illinois. The YouTuber was muttering into his camera as he entered the small building, immediately noting that he did not see a posting of the town's total operating budget or a block diagram for total subdivision. Again, muttering into his camera and preparing to give the town low grades on his self-made checklist, he approached a woman at the front counter with his complaint that both the block diagram and the total operating budget needed to be on display per state statute or immediately be distributed to a person who asked for it. After briefly looking at his paperwork, the woman excused herself and asked him to wait in the lobby. Waiting a few minutes where he examined the bathroom sign that indicated the bathroom was a family bathroom. Audit Them jokingly complained that they would soon have to remove the male and female figures from the sign as they were not reflective of same-sex couples. The auditor was met by Ruben Bautista, the village administrator, who listened patiently to Audit Them's complaints and indicated that he could find most of the things he was seeking online. After Audit Them persisted and explained with the implied threat that, "Today, I am in the role of citizen," did Bautista get the hint and begin to gather the information Audit Them was seeking. After a long delay, Bautista returned with the parts of the information that was requested, directing the YouTuber to a magazine that contained part of the information. Audit then again explained that everything he had requested was required by the statute to be displayed openly in the lobby and to be available immediately on request, not the extended period it took to find the information. After working with Bautista, Audit Them said he would be back to check in 30 days to see if the city would pass his checklist. When Bautista asked for a copy of his checklist, or even to see the checklist, Audit Them refused to provide it to him, indicating that it was secretive. Bautista said that he would get the information posted to comply with the requirements of the state. Audit Them then pledged to himself that he would not file a negative report to the Illinois Secretary of State about these lapses just yet, as he ended the live stream. GoFundMe Market rejects Long Island audit? As expected, steep drops in support for Sean Paul Long Island audit RIAs were observed on Friday as his campaign to raise $10,000 to defend himself from contempt charges in Nassau County, New York, has started to fizzle. After 2 days of hauling in thousands of dollars from his fans, Friday's take peaked at $133 to take the day for the Support Freedom Stand Against Tyranny Together Fund. While it was the only fund that saw a donation, with even our own ongoing expenses fund drawing blanks, the drastic drop-off in participation should be worrisome to the perceived king of all First Amendment auditors. The drop-off by Rios was more than likely caused by the fact that he did not live stream or put out more than a simple short promoting his arrest on Friday. Much like his other recent GoFundMe campaigns, Rios starts with a huge splash but tends to forget about the campaign without pursuing the promotion or outrage needed in order to maintain the intake of funds from his supporters. Even with such a small campaign, $10,000 is nothing when it comes to court costs, especially if he goes on the offense and sues Nassau County over the arrest. The growing unsubstantiated rumors are that Rios doesn't need anyone's help, as either his family or his YouTube revenue alone will easily pay for his court costs. So the GoFundMe is symbolic at best. The arrest video itself had brought in an estimated $1,500 in views based on YouTube's standard rate, and approximately 331,000 views, and the follow-up live session between Rios and attorney Jacob Uriel brought in approximately $875 based on 192,000 views. Factor in ad revenue and sales of his various sponsorships and merchandise, and he could be seeing about twice as much for the arrest. For live streams on his channel, the arrest is doing better viewership numbers than any of his recent lives, with the conversation video between Rios and Uriel doing slightly above average numbers. His lives do worse than his produced videos on average, but still do better than most of his competitors, including Jose Chile de Castro, who personally claims to be the top auditor in the field. If Reyes is really in need of the GoFundMe money for the attorney's fees, he'd be wise to hammer home with lives and produced videos until the money was raised, as that seems to be a problem with his recent campaigns. Not one has reached a set goal, even after a year's worth of promotion, as he just doesn't seem to put the effort into closing out the deal for whatever reason. We'll look further into completion rates in tomorrow's column, but for now, Rios has stalled at a 38% completion rate and may be stuck there for a while unless he puts out another video or has a source of new outrage to give his fans a reason to give him donations. On that note, if you'd like to donate to keep the torment of Helen demanding new puffy Cheetos from Jim every 3.5 minutes despite her just having been fed, or to keep him writing this dreadful column each day, you can contribute to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Delete Laws reports from accident scene. Again. Friday night saw Delete Laws' Jose Chile de Castro walking the streets of Los Angeles again, hustling for footage of coppers at accident scenes while trying to turn one man on to his idea of digital detainment and the elimination of handcuffs in most police activities. Friday's report saw the police arrive on scene of a car crash and immediately began putting up police tape to block off the entire roadway. An officer told De Castro that it was caused by a suspect fleeing in a car and crashing at the intersection. The suspect was also said to be in custody. De Castro made a brief pitch to the officer about digital detainment, with his standard line about how police don't need to put a man who beat his wife in handcuffs when they arrive at a domestic battery situation before the officer wandered off, showing no interest in De Castro's desire to change the system. Left to his own devices, De Castro began to watch as a police officer used a rolling distance measurer to calculate distances between items at the scene. The YouTuber invented a storyline where the officer was having problems with his stick and at one point broke into a fake Australian accent to narrate the story of the officer as a lost deer about to be pounced on by a predator. De Castro later adding that if he were to put a box of donuts down on the ground in front of him, the officers would all flock to him and say what a great guy he was. He then went into an extended conversation with himself that he had been eating a lot of donuts and compared his body to that of the officer who was using the measurer, and claimed he was just as fat but had more body muscle than the officer. The YouTuber then became obsessed with the way the man was walking. He brought up another recent obsession, men experiencing chafing from their pants. De Castro explained that the tight polyester pants the officer was wearing caused the officer great chafing, and that De Castro had experienced chafing in the past that caused him to walk bow-legged. This is the third or fourth time that DeCastro has gone into the subject of chafing and being bow-legged in recent live streams. It seems to be a new obsession or problem DeCastro has been experiencing, as his new format of walking the streets of LA late at night during the early fall seems to have made it an issue he returns to on a regular basis. With his advancing age and declining health, and DeCastro's plain weirdness during the stream, it brought concerns for his mental and physical health from observers. His refusal to go on camera during the stream had only compounded the concerns, as he was acting weirder than normal. At the end of the video, DeCastro made an on-camera pitch for his 5A cop cards and trifold products. His ragged appearance and pinprick-sized pupils provided all the answers most viewers needed as to the strangeness observed during the live stream. DeCastro's much-hyped TeamDLZ.com has again failed to launch this week. He is expected to livestream again later today. Audit Them's Compliance Tour continues. In our continuation of the coverage of Audit Them's ongoing compliance tour of obscure towns in Illinois, we focus on the small town of Peotone, Illinois, which recently was compliance checked by the strange YouTuber. As always, Audit Them represents himself and no one else. His checklists are his own, and he holds no power or authority over anyone. While he is armed with actual state statutes, he doesn't have the power to enforce those statutes, and his reports may or may not be sent to the Attorney General of the state of Illinois. No one is sure what he actually does with them. Again, today's target was the sleepy town of Peotone, Illinois, located 43 miles south of Chicago, with a population of around 5,000 citizens. Audit Them wandered into the town hall and was immediately greeted by Kelly Lamore, the park manager. Upon entry to the building, he noted that the board and commission was listed on the front window, but he indicated that he needed to get his standard list of information from Lamore, including the total amount of operating budget, total number of full and part-time employees, and block diagram. Lamore attempted to direct him to the FOIA officer, Jacqueline Van Overmeren, who was not present at the time, but Audit Them pointed out that the information would be made available immediately. He then said he would give her a few seconds to gather the information. Startled, Lamore wrote down the information Audit Them was seeking, then asked what agency or group he represented. Audit Them answered in his usual manner, stating, "Today I am just acting as a regular member of the public. Today." Inquiries to his name and contract information resulted in him giving the name George and a copy of his email. He again insisted that today he was just a member of the public, and asked Lamore if it was great that someone came and checked if they were in compliance with the statutes. Lamore agreed, but said she didn't like his tactics. Lamore then took a picture of Audit Them with her camera, resulting in Audit Them asking for a FOIA request form. He told Lamore that she was required not to delete the photo of him, as now he was going to FOIA request a copy of that photo. Eventually, Audit Them asked if Lamore would be able to provide his requested information within the next 5 minutes. She said she would not be able to do so. He said he would be giving the office a failing grade on his checklist and would be back in 30 days to check their compliance with the statute. The YouTuber ended the video by noticing that the fire extinguisher was out of date before walking out of the building and shambling back to his car.